Hi, this is Cobb from Sniping Rhino Ranch with my wife Jess. Seeing as how she hurt herself yesterday, we're going to talk about first aid and some equipment you want to have on hand. That's coming up as soon as I'm done changing this bandage. Hi, I'm Todd from Sniping Rhino Ranch. In today's video, we're going to talk about first aid, specifically some first aid equipment that you might want to have if you live in a remote homestead like we do. Before I begin, let me get a couple things out of the way. The first off is, if you're not a subscriber, help the channel out and hit the subscribe button. The second thing is, if you're watching this video to learn first aid techniques, go ahead and shut it off now. While I have a lot of experience from my time in the military or my time in the fire service, what I don't have is the certifications to teach first aid. So my first recommendation is, if you don't have any medical training, go out and get some training from certified instructors, whether that be CPR or an EMT paramedic course of some sort. Nothing beats having training and certifications, with the exception of experience. And there's a lot of legal ramifications if you start doing things that you're not trained to do. The second thing is, we're not going to cover all the basic stuff. There's first aid stuff like band-aids, rubbing alcohol, stuff like that for cleaning wounds. We could go on. And I'm also not going to cover some of the advanced things. While I have a lot of equipment out here, our first aid kits that we carry around with us or have here on the homestead is a lot more robust than this. But this is some stuff that you might want to think about. It takes us an hour to get to the ER from where we live. That's if we transport ourselves. If we have to call an ambulance, it's going to take 1 to 2 hours minimum for the ambulance to get here. So there's a lot of things that we need to have, and if you live remotely, you might want to think about having. Now, we're going to go over how we approach first aid and the ABCs of first aid that we do, which is a little bit different than what you may have heard before. A lot of the ABCs have to focus around CPR, people who aren't breathing. And while we cover that, we kind of made ABC for our family. So the first thing is airways. Now that can cover cardiac arrest, it can cover not breathing, whatever it is. For us, airway is usually the CPR phase of first aid. Now, if you haven't been certified in a while, go ahead and get recertified or look it up. The new acronym, if you have to do CPR, is CAB, C-A-B. I'm not going to tell you what that is. Go ahead and take the time to look it up. But what we do have is we have some rescue masks that we got from the Red Cross. We also have a mask here where we can actually get air. One of the problems with using a rescue mask is you're not exhaling enough oxygen that they really need. I think it's somewhere along the lines of 17% that we exhale, and you need 21%. So we have this stuff. Again, get CPR certified. So this is kind of our first major equipment or moderate level equipment that we have. The next thing we worry about is bleeding, and we have a lot of things for that. Now, for bleeding, just a normal dish rag is probably the biggest thing we've used. We just haven't had any major injuries out here, and hopefully we never do. But when it comes to stopping bleeding, using a rag and applying manual pressure is just a quick and easy way to stop bleeding. But what happens if you need something a little more robust? Manual pressure doesn't work. Well, we have a lot of different things on the table for dealing with that. First things we have that I'll go over are the different just dressings that the military does. I have several different types, 4 different types here on the table. Some of them have blood clotting agent in it. And some of them are just the old style battle dressings that they used to have. So we have those. We also, what we got at Walmart is just some like clotting agent that you can put on the wound to stop bleeding that you can buy right over the counter. We also have Kerlex and gauze. That's a little bit more robust, and again, I'm not going to go into that too much, but that's other stuff we have. And then we have just kind of this device. It's just a piece of Velcro thing. You can just put it on someone's arm or put it over a rag or something to just put a little bit more pressure on it, restriction bandage of that nature to stop bleeding. The last thing we'll use is tourniquets. You can buy any of this stuff pretty much online or go to an Army-Navy store and get it. But we have two different types here. We have the ratchet strap type, and we just have the normal twist type. This is pretty much for anything where you're bleeding on your arms, and we use a ratchet strap if you're bleeding somewhere in the legs. It's a little bit bigger. You can tighten it a lot more, especially if you got a femoral artery bleed or something of that nature. The last thing is C, for circulation and continued care. Now, if you've gone through CPR or CAB, whatever, continued care means continuing treatment until help arrives or whatever. For us, it means all the other things you need to deal with when you're assessing a casualty or a victim. The last thing, though, for us is circulation. If you don't know how to check circulation, either through checking somebody's pulse and the different pressure points you can do that at, or checking their fingernails, go ahead, get some first aid training, and learn how to do that. My kids, that's one of the first things they do actually, is check their fingernails and make sure their circulation's good when they twist an ankle or do something of that nature. So for continued care, we have a bunch of different miscellaneous equipment. We've got some splints here. Not only is that good for immobilizing a broken bone, but if somebody has fallen or taken a hit to the head, neck area, you can also use it kind of to do C-spine and basically immobilize their head and neck area. And we've got some for fingers and whatever. We also have shears. Shears are pretty important if it's a significant injury where you need to start cutting clothing off or cutting them out of a vehicle. We've seem to be magnets for emergency situations, so we actually have a lot of vehicle accidents that we witness and have had to give first aid to victims on scene. And we've got different types of shears. So a lot of these guys we'll call these the penny cutters because they'll cut through a penny. They're pretty robust. We also have some stuff just specific to us. We have a snake bite kit here. We have a lot of poisonous snakes out here. In fact, one of our cats a few weeks ago ended up getting bit by a poisonous snake in the head area. Luckily, it was a dry bite, not a wet bite, which, if you don't know, probably 90% of snake bites are dry, not wet. But we have that in case one of us get a bite. We also have, like ace bandages or stuff for sports. And that may fall under, to a lot of people, basic equipment. Well, it's kind of our moderate level equipment, because if you don't have one of these Velcro restriction straps or whatever, you can use this stuff. It's just a little bit tighter to hold pressure on there to control the bleeding. The last things we have, because we're so far out, if we have a significant injury that happens out here on the Homestead, we're going to have to get life flight out here. If you've watched any of our videos, our shooting videos, you know we have a lower field that's pretty big, and we can use it as a landing zone. So we have just a Rhino GPS that, if we hadn't already, we could plot the lat longitude of the landing zone that the helicopter can come in. If you're a military guy or former military guy like me, a lot of times you want to give things in military grid system. Most pilots, aviation guys, do not use military grid system. They use the lat longitude system. So you want to make sure if you have a place that a helicopter can land, or you think a helicopter can land, that you go ahead and get the lat longitude for that place. Even if they can't land there, you can give it to 911 so the pilots know where they're going. let's be honest, if you know anything about pilots, they're pretty much going to land where they want to. And at night, I also have I'm brain cramping here, but I've got a light, strobe light. Wow, that was a lot harder than it needed to be. But I got a strobe light that I can go mark the landing zone at night if I need to. Because there's really no telling how long it will take EMS or fire personnel to get out here. There's been somebody who was actually shot within a mile of here. It took 3 hours for the ambulance to get there, and that's only because one of the neighbors drove, found the ambulance, and brought him there. So this is kind of the moderate level equipment that you might want to have on your homestead. Anything more than this, and there is stuff that goes bigger than this, you want to get specific specialized training for it. I mean, with being out here, gunshot wounds, with hunting, stuff like that, there are some things, needle decompressions, all sorts of stuff that you probably want to get training on, depending on how much money you have or how much time you have. Lastly, if you're the one getting the training for your family, make sure and pass that knowledge on to your family. I've got rubber gloves we have in all our kits. I don't necessarily need to use that, I know that's the wrong answer, for my family members, but if there's anybody else up here who gets injured, I want to make sure that I'm safe and from bloodborne pathogens. But my children know how to use all of this stuff, even though they're now 12 and 13. You want to make sure your kids know how to do it and know what their limitations are. My wife can't stand the sight of blood, but my kids are okay with it. So I've had my 9, 10-year-old son actually was the one doing first aid, applying manual pressure when I was hurt. Our family, we're a little clumsy, so we get a lot of minor injuries. Nothing too big. Hopefully this video has helped you out. If it hasn't, I'm sorry, leave a comment, especially to you paramedics, EMTs, medics out there. I'm sorry, I know this is how we do it. If you did like it, hit the like button. Make sure again that you subscribe so you don't miss any of our homestead related videos. This is Todd from Sniping Rhino Ranch. Have a great day.